In this week's episode of Pop Culture Weekly, I talk with Oscar-winning actress Anna Paquin and actor and her husband, Stephen Moyer. Plus, I talk with the cast of Apple TV Plus's Home Before Dark and rock star, hip-hop star, singer-songwriter Mod Sun. Let's go!
You're listening to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon, presented by 92.9 Tom FM, an iHeart radio station.
Hello and welcome to episode 70 of Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon, and this is Pop Culture Weekly. I think I already said that, but I am once again by myself because it's just never-ending interviews lately, and that's good for you guys. You guys have been loving them, but we are going to bring back the rotating panel of guest hosts as well as, you know, the typical segments that you guys know and love, like what's out this week and what's happening and all that good stuff, especially since now it's all coming back again. So, in this week's episode, I talk with the Oscar-winning Anna Paquin, who you know from all kinds of incredible shows and movies like Rogue from the X-Men franchise, or, I don't know, True Blood. She was actually at age 11, she won the Academy Award, that's the Oscar, for Best Supporting Actress for The Piano. She was just 11 years old, and it was her acting debut. She was the second youngest winner in Oscar history. So she's won all kinds of awards. She's so awesome. And so I talked to her and Stephen Moyer, her husband, who is a celebrated actor himself. Such great people. And they star in Flack on Amazon Prime, which if you haven't watched it, it is so good. It's like, you know, what's going on in the seedy underbelly sometimes of publicity for, you know, celebrity clients, public figures. And, you know, though they might seem they have it all together to their clients and to the world, sometimes their life is just as a mess, if not more, than, you know, the fires they're trying to put out with their clients. So I love the show, and let's start with talking to them before we get into the cast of Home Before Dark, as well as Mod Sun. That's an awesome, awesome one coming up. So, without any further ado, let's talk with Anna Paquin and Stephen Moyer. Hey, Anna, how are you?
Hey, good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for speaking with me. I absolutely love the series, and I got to watch a few of the new episodes, which raises the stakes, the drama, the craziness. So awesome. What I find really interesting about the series as a whole, and I just spoke with Stephen about it, is the fact that you and he, but you are on the other side of this. And what I mean is, you know, you have a publicist and you are a celebrity and you have, you know, you make the news. And so for you to portray a publicist, somebody on the opposite side, kind of, you know, defending your clients is really, really interesting to me. Was that part of the draw for you?
I mean, I am drawn to complex, interesting, difficult female leads, especially female leads that are surrounded by incredibly badass lady ensembles like we have just on the page, and then filled with the most wonderful actresses you could ever hope for. What's fascinating for me about this sort of angle of the entire PR world is that as much as, yes, I've been doing this forever and obviously do have the public aspect of my life, the crisis scandal tabloidy stuff has not really figured into my world because frankly, I'm pretty serious and really low key and quite shy in real life. I work really hard, and I love talking to people like you to like get other people excited about watching things that I've created with people. But I've obviously seen everything.
Right.
And so it is fun to get to kind of play at being in the slightly more juicy and of that aspect of public life. Not that I would want my own life to look like that, but but it is fun because I know how much reality there is in there.
Yeah, and it's interesting the duality of the series and Robin and really the entire cast, that, and we do this in real life. We have this publicity side that we put on, and as Stephen and I were saying, we both have ring lights that are making us as beautiful as possible, but you turn that ring light off and you see the real us.
Yeah,
and,
you do.
And with the series, you see the real person behind the facade of either celebrity or being an amazing businesswoman defending her clients, which I think is so interesting, because the series by itself could have been just about the publicity aspect of it. And that would have been juicy and
that
dramatic.
would have been juicy and exciting. But I think what really grounds this and keeps people wanting to actually come back for more is that we do have the through stories of Robin and the other characters. And, we get to season 2, especially, we get to, having sort of created the world, now take a little bit of a closer look at what's going on behind the scenes for all of those women. And I think that sort of bringing who they really are, where they really come from, what they're dealing with in their own lives, and then how they present at work, I think just makes it even more interesting for people to watch, because it's all just looking behind the curtain. It's all seeing the things that nobody wants you to see. And I think that's exciting as an audience member.
Absolutely. And it makes for great storytelling. And, and you kind of touched on this, but it's not just Robin. And this is, in no means a knock to you. You are absolutely incredible, but it's not just Robin that has a full story. These badass women also bring, 100% of a fully written character.
Absolutely.
And
also
so
we were so incredibly fortunate the way our cast came together as well, because every single woman in our show is in and of herself a creatively, intensely talented badass of a human being, and can bring as much of the dramatic, personal life sort of pain, frankly, to the table as we need to get to explore just what it is they're overcoming in their real lives in order to show up and still put on the perfect face. And that's a function of both the writing, but also the brilliant women who we are lucky enough to have in our ensemble.
And do you find, as a woman in the industry, that do you still find that there is a double standard with women as much as over men in keeping up appearances, if you will, in today's society?
Sure. I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, and I don't mean that in a kind of, oh, woe is me as a woman. I mean, that's just kind of the reality of women, I think, in general. You do a red carpet with your spouse, who's also in, doing the show with you. No one asks him about what he's wearing. And look, I love fashion, so I'm happy to talk, the frilly, cool, fun, girly stuff. But, people just don't, the way men are perceived in society in general is fundamentally less about how they present visually and aesthetically, and the minutia of their behavior, I do believe, is not analyzed in the same way that that women deal with. And I feel like it's, I don't know, is it changing? I don't know. I've been doing this for a really long time, so it's a little hard to see from within, but and that's kind of the way it is. And I think that as much as things are sort of making progress, I also am under no illusions that that's the business that I've opted into being in. So I'm also not about to throw myself a pity party. You know, I at this point, this is very much a conscious choice to participate in an industry that both brings me incredible, tremendous creative, like, catharsis and excitement, but that, yeah, there is that aspect where, you know, your dude can wear the same well-fit tux for 5 years, but, you know, things, you know what I mean? It's there's sure. And those are like little superficial things, but yeah, but I think that's our society in general, not just the entertainment industry. It just gets kind of magnified when it gets splashed all over, you know, the internet.
Yeah, it's like, you know, Madonna gets all this flack for, oh, why do you dress like that? And why are you still, you know, gallivanting on stage? But then somebody like Bono or, you know, Mick Jagger or somebody, it's, oh, he's so awesome. You know, it's very much still a double standard.
Yeah, sure. And, you know, baby steps.
And I'm sorry.
No, keep going.
And, you know, and that's actually one of the things that I love about you is that you are using your sphere to do change where you can.
Yeah, I certainly try. You know, and also I've just been doing, I mean, this year will mark my 30th year in the showbiz.
Congratulations.
I am 39 in July, and I did my first movie when I was 9. So which is kind of crazy. So this is you take the good with the bad. There's an incredibly huge, tremendous upside to what I get to do. And one of those upsides is that you do end up with a platform from which you can at least try to affect change in areas that you really care about. I'm not particularly interested in, you know, documenting every single second of my life or pretending I have some kind of picture perfect curated Instagram life. But, you know, it is kind of nice to, you know, those things exist now in a way that they didn't when I first started, that you can actually have your own voice out there separate from just it being part of the machine. Awesome. And that's something that I am, you know, that I do enjoy.
I love it. I love your work, and thank you. I love the series, and I can't wait for everybody to see season 2.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Hey, Steven, how are you?
Good, Kyle. How are you, man? I love your setup. It looks like you're going to be like mixing some sounds.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So I love the series, and so tell me a little bit about how you came into becoming one of the EPs on the show.
We were looking for something for Anna. That, you know, we had a production company, and we were looking for something for her that was gonna sort of expel the sookiness of her life that had been for the last 8 years, you know. So we were sort of taking in ideas, and lots of people were pitching stuff. Ollie Lansley, the creator of the show, and Hat Trick in England, like shared this idea with us, and we loved it. And, you know, it's I mean, she's literally like the diametric opposite of Sookie. And so we started sort of developing the idea of what this character would be, who she'd be, how far we'd go, you know. So I was on as an executive producer right from the beginning. No intention of acting in it, but possibly direct some down the line. And then, you know, when we finally got the commission from where we got it from, I was doing the first season. I was doing The Gifted for Marvel, and Fox. So I wasn't available. I helped set it up, but I wasn't available to direct. So it was really nice this time to be able to. I was doing a gig in Calgary, and I finished the job in Calgary, and then ran to London to do the final 2 episodes.
I love it, and this season 2 is incredible, and you
pretty
know,
out there.
It is, and it ramps up the excitement, you know, that was built in, and the drama that was built in season 1. So kudos to you and the team for that.
Thank you, Kyle.
Of course. So what I find really interesting about this for both you and Anna is that you have lived this, right? I mean, you have been these clients. You are these clients.
I hope not.
Well, I don't mean that.
No.
But I mean, you know, you are public figures or celebrities that have a publicity team, and you have been on the other side. Is that part of what drew you to the project?
I think it's a great question. Yes. Yes, and I think it's about how far people. The idea being like, how far will people go to increase their likability rating or their Instagram followers, or to get money in the bank, or how far will people stretch their humanity, and how dark can that be, and what does that take out of the person who is troubleshooting that life? What does that do to the person who's having to deal with your horrific self? You know, because they've got their own stuff going on. You know, so it's pulling away the curtain of celebrity and seeing what's behind it. But it's also, you know, it's a look at addiction. It's a look at the society that we're in. You know, this version of ourselves, which is all, you know, I've got a ring light making me look pretty. You know, whereas you know, it's not really what everybody's lives are like. You know, we present this to the world. So we kind of wanted to scratch the surface and if actually scrape away the surface and peel it back and then peel it back again and just like show you the horrors that are underneath it. And that's not to say that any of the stories are based on our friends or anything that we've necessarily experienced, but every single character and every single storyline that we have spoken about on the show has happened in some version of reality along the way. You know, there's a lot of truth in our show. We stretch it.
Of course. Of course. And, you know, one of the other things that I love about it is it could be enough of a show just on the firm, right? The publicity aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then you have this whole other dynamic that is, you know, just as dramatic and powerful and crazy and, you know, just like our lives on the personal lives of it.
And it's about, you know, the show's about addiction. The show's about what we do to cover the truth. So you've got these people putting out a fake version of themselves, right? And then you've got Anna's character doing the same thing on the surface, going, everything's fine, I'm great, I'm doing great, but her life is just a mess. Mm-hmm. And we start to sort of filter in things that are happening in her real life. Her backstory, stuff with her sister, stuff with her mum, you know, who she is as a human and how she has coped with it. And so when we first meet her as a character, we are dealing with somebody who, for all intents and purposes, appears to be like just great, just fab, but she's not. She's broken, and it's everything that she's using on top to try and create that version that you see. And, you know, that addictive quality, that nihilism was something that we were really attracted to try and tell the story of addiction in a way that hopefully is fun, dark, but also has like funny elements that you'll be able to sort of recognize in yourself, but also poke fun at celebrity at the same time.
Absolutely. And I think it achieves that perfectly. And, you know, and as I sit here thinking, you know, as I have a ring light and, you know, we all kind of, no matter where you are, kind of build this story about ourselves that we present to the world. And then we have the story that we don't present ourselves to, that is the real story of who we are.
I was talking about, sorry, go ahead, Carl.
Oh, no. So I was just going to say, I think the series does that so well in capturing that duality of really all of us.
We've been talking a lot the last few days. You know, I've got a teenage daughter and a 21-year-old son, and young uns with Anna, and Anna's stepmom to the older two. And we've been talking a lot about, you know, Finstagram and the idea of, you know, your fake Insta being the person that you really are, and the one that's your Instagram is the one that you're not really. It's your pretend self, and it should be the other way around. And we live in a society where you have to pretend the fake version of you is the one that people see, and it's all wrong way around and upside down. And I think that's really interesting. And so it's about, I mean, I don't know whether you follow Anna on Instagram, but Anna's Instagram is like barefaced, warts and all, who she is. She doesn't hide anything, and some people find that quite confronting because she's just like she's out there. But there's, I have such respect for my missus, so it's like trying to be an authentic human whilst doing what we do for a living is not always easy.
Yeah, and I think for some people it makes someone, when Anna, like her Instagram, it makes some people uncomfortable because it's like, wait a second, who does she think she is showing this warts and all?
Yeah, you constantly get people saying all the time, just don't talk about politics. I don't want to know about yourself. I just want you to be fun. I just want you to be, and you're like, well, it's Anna goes on like blocking sprees. No, you're homophobic. Bye, you're horrible. Bye, you're racist. Bye. She's just like, I love the idea of like curating your output as the person that you really are, as opposed to the person that you are pretending,
Yeah, and I think
that said, you're not going to see the mess that is, our closet.
Right. Yes, there are some limits.
Yeah. Nobody
Steve, thank you so much, Steven. I love the series and I look forward to what you guys do in the future. And I can't wait for everybody to see this.
Thanks, Kyle. Good interview, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Bye-bye. How awesome are they? Seriously, such great people. I love them, and I love the show. So go watch Flack Season 2 right now on Amazon Prime. If you haven't seen Season 1, go watch that first, and then watch Season 2. It is woohoo, really good. All right, so next up, I talk with Brooklynn Prince and Jim Sturgess, who are the two lead characters in the Apple TV Plus series Home Before Dark, which if you don't know... If you haven't seen the show, it kind of went under the radar, and it really shouldn't because it's really, really good. It's like a mystery drama. It basically follows this young journalist who actually is a really real person, Hilda Lysiak, and she essentially moves from Brooklyn to this small, lakeside kind of town with her father, and her father used to live there, and then while she's there, she discovers this, cold case that everyone in town, including her dad, don't really want to dig into, but she's like this inquisitive, young, budding journalist. It's so good. And Season 2 is really good as well. So let's get into that. Here is Jim Sturgess and Brooklynn Prince. Thank you, Brooklynn and Jim, for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kyle.
No problem. It's an honor.
So, first of all, Season 1 was absolutely amazing, and you two are, a huge part of that. What I find interesting and is the relationship between the both of you, and how is that in real life, as actors, as talent? How do you make that so authentic? And what can we expect with that in Season 2?
Yeah, I mean, making it authentic wasn't something that we really sort of tried to do. Luckily, we just naturally sort of connected, me and Brooklynn, as two people, and we became very close very quickly. And yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of respect that me and Brooklynn have for each other that emulates the respect that Matt and Hildy have for each other in the show. Although there's a huge age gap between the two of us, they really do sort of operate on the same level and recognize bits of themselves in each other, which is really exciting to kind of play, to sort of be a part of. And to get to work with Brooklyn every day, who is a much younger actress, but to see how amazing she is and to see all the ideas that she has and that she brings to the table and the sort of joy that she brings to her work is infectious. It's amazing to be around.
And how about for you, Brooklyn?
Jimbo. I think in the first season of the show, we kind of had to find the authenticity, but I think in season 2, in all of our minds, it was just like a switch. We were like, it's the show. We're doing the show now. We know what the show is. We know our characters. I think all of us have a very deep connection with our characters. Like, I know Aziza, who plays Trip, like really, really loves Trip, and Jim, who plays Matt, really, really loves Matt, and I love Hildy. So I think it clicked for us, and I think we all added new elements to our characters and new ways to spice things up, and kind of like cooking.
Yeah.
I
love. And the great thing about doing the second season is that you have a bunch of memories from the first season that are real memories. When you're doing the first one, you have to pretend you have a past and a history and all that stuff. But when you do a second season, all that's real. It's all there. You've shared experiences, you've had laughs, you've had ups and downs, and and all the stuff that goes into any family dynamic felt very real to us this time around because we experienced so much together. And then throw in a pandemic in the middle of that, and then we really had sort of gone through something very real together,
I love it. Thank you both so much. Home Before Dark on Apple TV Plus. I can't wait for everybody to see season 2 and beyond. Thank you, guys.
Yes!
Thank you so much for speaking with me, Dana. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So am I. So, first of all, congratulations on the series. I absolutely love it. And now, of course, the second season is getting ready to debut. As a writer, what is the motivation for you going into a season 2 of this, particularly knowing, after season 1, before it even premiered, that season 2 was greenlit?
Yeah, I mean, I would say some words are exciting, other words are terrifying. You just really want to do right by the audience. I think the thing that was so exciting to see about season 1 is that people really loved the show. Anybody who watched it was very sort of like rabid fan about it, which was awesome. But it's also a big responsibility. You really want to make sure that the things that they loved about it, you carry that through the second season. And, we were already working on the second season before the first season came out. So we kind of had to go with our gut about what we loved about the show and hoped, fingers crossed, that it was what other people loved about the show. And, luckily, I think we were right. So, the challenge with season 2 was we left on a really big, exciting cliffhanger at the end of season 1, and everybody should go binge season 1 so you can catch up with us before June 11th.
And I hated, by the way, having to wait like a year to get in. But anyway, sorry.
Oh, you're amazing. Oh, Kyle, I love you. Yeah, so there's this like crazy cliffhanger at the end of season 1 that you're like dying to know the answers to. And I did want to make sure to signal to the audience, like, don't worry, you are going to find out more about what happened, but we're also opening up this other new mystery that is really exciting and is sort of putting the kids on a slightly bigger stage, like more stakes in the town, more people involved in the cover up of this other mystery. So I wanted to let the show kind of grow up with Hildy and her friends and sort of show that all of the people in the show are kind of like facing new obstacles that are bigger, but they're actually able to face them together so that they're actually like stronger as a unit, was sort of the idea.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. And I can't wait for everybody to see season 2. And I look forward to talking to you for season 3, Home After Dark.
Oh my God, Kyle, you're amazing. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for getting the word out. Yeah, this is like a total labor of love. But I think the great thing is like when people get into this show, they're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a show about a little girl. Like, what's going on here? This is a mystery. This is a bingeable mystery. So thanks so much for getting the word out. I appreciate
love it. Thank you, Dana. Have a great day.
Oh, Kyle, thank you.
Again, I love those guys. So much fun. She is like a ball of energy, and she's so talented. I mean, so Jim, so are you. I love you too, buddy. But she is just a ball of talent and energy, and I love it. All right. Finally on the agenda today is Mod's son. Now, Mod is a really awesome artist that I really love. He's, very much like a kind of a genre bender. He started it off like early on playing like pop punk, and then he kind of went to like a hip hop sort of career, and now he's doing, some like rock pop punk with some, like hip hop influences. He's just really talented, and I am really excited to talk to him. We're talking about his brand new album, Internet Killed the Rock Star, which just released a special edition that is out right now. Of course, you can get it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your music legally. And he has this song with Black Bear. I love me some Black Bear, called Heavy, and that was just released a couple of months ago. Anyway, let's talk with Mod's son. So, I am here on Pop Culture Weekly on iHeartRadio with the one and only Mod's son. Mod, thank you so much for joining me, brother.
Man, thank you, bro. It's a pleasure doing this.
I'm excited to talk to you. You have a brand new deluxe edition of your latest album that was released a few weeks ago, and you have a brand new single and music video, Amnesia, that is incredible. And I can't wait to dive into that. But first, I'd like to go back a little bit, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
So tell me a little bit, how did you end up where you are today as an artist?
Well, I mean, dude, honestly, the journey, like really, really the journey. I guess I started playing music in bands. So like the first thing that I ever did was I played drums. I played drums in a couple first off, like a really, really pop punk band. Then after that, it was like a hardcore, post-hardcore rock band. And then I moved into quitting doing the drum stuff, and started making Mod Son music. And I've been Mod Son now for a decade. Prior to that, I spent like a solid 6 years in the industry playing drums. So like really, really over half my life, I've been, on stage in front of people. So like, it's been a really long journey, bro. And like, I be thinking about it every day more and more. I'm like, it's so crazy, this timeline that like I kind of had on my life, being like, man, all this shit's gonna happen for me at 20 years old, 22 years old, 25 years old, 28 years old. And like, it kept being a different timeline than what I thought of. I think as a kid, especially now in this day and age, you're kind of expected to think that if you don't, quote unquote, make it by 21, 25, you're not gonna make it. That's like what they kind of put on you. And I was a part of that ideology. And as a kid, and when those things didn't come, I didn't feel like quitting, bro. I never did. Like, I really, really enjoy this journey. I mean, my favorite artist in the whole world being Bob Dylan, I think has like been the greatest example for me. Because he just turned 80 2 days ago. Happy birthday, Bob Dylan. And he still makes music. Mm-hmm. He still drops records. And like, that's what I want to do. I want to be singing on the day I die. I want to be making music. I want to be making art. And so yeah, man, I'm in my 30s now, proudly in my 30s, and really feel like things are happening and I'm making it,
Absolutely.
And it's just beautiful, because that's really the story that I do want to tell to people. I do want to let people know that, like, honestly, it can maybe be to your advantage to not have to, like, quote unquote, make it at this young age, when you really don't know, first off, yourself as much as you're going to know later in life. And secondly, know the ins and outs of this business, like, this is music business, and I will always do it like that. I put music first, but I like to think from the lens of a CEO. Now, most of these people in this business, it should be called the business of music, because they put the business first. I'll never be like that. But that being said, bro, I really understand the ins and outs of how to run a career. I understand the ins and outs on how to build something up and build a project. And, the visual landscape and the audio landscape being very important to me. Like I've learned the ins and outs of that. And yeah, man, so it's really been a journey to get here.
I love it. And, so I signed with one of the majors right out of high school. And
do we know each other, by the way? Sorry to cut you off.
I don't know. I mean,
you look super familiar. Like, I feel like we've known each other, bro.
I think we have met.
Okay, I think we definitely have.
Yeah. And I'm not, I was trying to figure out where, but I have a horrible memory. So
okay, sorry for cutting you off.
Oh,
go ahead.
You're totally good. So I signed with a major out of high school, and I was so thankful. And that was my dream, right? Like my entire life, I was always writing songs in notebooks in school instead of doing schoolwork, and it was exactly that. My timeline for myself was 18, I'm signing a record deal. 19, I'm putting it out. 21, I'm doing a book or something. It's like I had it all planned out, and then kind of reality set in. And to be honest, in my experience, thank God that it did, because I would have gotten eaten up then, and I was really pushed to be a certain type of artist that I really wasn't truly as an artist. And I'm so thankful that it actually turned out the way it did, and my life turned out the way it did. And there's so much pressure, as you say, especially these, like Olivia Rodriguez, I think is her name. She's like 16 and she released that song. And I'm just, and I don't know her personal situation, but I just can't imagine the pressures of having a Billboard #1 at 16, 17, and all the pressure that she has to
Olivia Rodrigo. That's what
there you go. Right? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And we'll correct it for all of her fans out there. They probably don't freak out.
And she's awesomely talented, but I'm just, me at 18 and 21 and 25, I would have gotten eaten alive, and here she is doing it. So, and then you look at an artist like Sia, who, was kind of a incredible songwriter forever and kind of put out these little indie records herself. And then it really wasn't, she was like 39 when she like kind of broke out into.
I love that.
She's freaking awesome.
Love that. I really love that story about it. And yeah, it does create a totally different world. And like I said, a lot of it can turn to the business of music really quickly. And, I will, until the day I'm done, be fighting for art. Like, I think that's what I really do. First and foremost, is I fight for art, and I fight for the underdogs, the kids who've been told, I'm from a small town in Minnesota. Like, none of my friends wanted the same things as me. I was the outcast. I was told that I would never make it. I got told 1 in a million, 6 times a day, my entire life growing up. And like, in my mind, I was like, well, that's great, because I am that one, you gave me one at least, right? But yeah, man, it's an interesting journey that it can create. And I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it. But that being said, we all know that the greatest teacher is lessons, learning lessons will teach you everything. Experience will teach you more than like anyone could just like write down for you, is actually experiencing it. So I send love to like, I really, really like to, not to be like, sound like on some cliche type of thing, but like, I like to try to quote unquote, like mentor anyone that's young coming up, because like, it is a really strange place to kind of maneuver through and the journey to it. But like, I just want everyone to know at this day and age, like, to do your best not to make disposable art due to the fact of like pressure around you. Take your time to make. I believe in timeless art. First off, I really believe in timelessness, like things getting better over time. And so like, I try to just let people know that like, whether they have like popped off and they've had this like hit song, and, there's this crazy like thing that happens when you have like this big hit, and then you're working the rest of your career trying to chase that, And so I just like to try to let people know that like, really, we're in the Wild West right now as far as music goes. And if there's any time that you could have fun in the music business, it is right now.
Right.
It really is right now. Because like the rules have changed so much. You can be so in control of your career, your image, what you give out to the world. And like, the internet has done so many damning things to culture, but it's also like the reason I'm here too.
It's like an equalizer in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So like, to find the positive in everything is obviously like a really big thing for people to go through in life. But there really is like a great time in music happening right now. There is this window that's very different than the last decade, truly. Not only that, but like real drums are back, like real instruments. It's an amazing time. But yeah, man, it's a very interesting time. I'm very proud of like how my journey worked out. Again, I had a different timeline, but if we've learned anything from music, it's like you said, the Sia story, Jay-Z dropping his first album at like 27. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can make your own timeline and put your finger on the pulse of what you do.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And speaking of kind of creating your own journey, so two of my favorite artists are Black Bear and Mike Posner, and who you've worked with both of them. Mike Posner, I just absolutely love that man, and I've interviewed him at length, and I've met up with him a couple of times, and he's on such a whole other level. And the thing that I love about them, and that I also love about you, is you all you're kind of creating your own paths as you go. I said this to Mike. I was like, you just came off the biggest hit of your career, and then you released a freaking poetry book. Which I absolutely love.
Which my publishing company actually released that poetry.
Really?
For him. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that's incredible. And like, who does that? You know what I mean? Who does that? You're literally creating new ground, and so incredible. And that also has to do with genres, or also applies to genres with the three of you, really. You're all kind of genre bending. And you have kind of, I guess kind of gone back to your roots in many ways with the latest record. Yeah. Is it just a reflection of the different flavors of you?
Great question. First off, really great question. And much love to Black Bear and Posner, of course. Love those dudes. I guess, like, first off, a lot of this is going back, like I said, from the first thing that we spoke about. Like, I grew up playing drums in bands. But like really what it is to me is I've been fortunate enough to have the span of my career be for half of my existence on this planet. I studied art when I was a kid, and I study art every single day to this moment. And like when I say art, like I really like actual painters, and all of my favorite painters, all of the people that I think were the greatest artists of their time, they said very bluntly that it is super important to reinvent yourself every 10 years. Every 10 years, reinvent yourself, go into a new period, start a new era for you. I think that like that mindset, having that, again, loving Bob Dylan. This is a guy who, you want to talk about Mike Posner having a hit and dropping a poetry book. Bob Dylan had a hit with an acoustic guitar and went on stage at Newport Jazz Festival, plugged in an electric guitar with a full band, and got booed off stage for the first 3 years that he played Like a Rolling Stone, which is now regarded by many people in this world as the greatest song ever written of all time, right? He got booed off stage for 3 years straight when he would play that song. They'd be like, pick up your acoustic guitar, stop doing this.
Right.
Yo, that is in my bone marrow. It is in my bone marrow to be like, I appreciate my audience very much, to the point that I think they're very intelligent, right? I really think that my audience is very intelligent. And like, maybe it's a little bit of narcissism, but I believe that if you followed the Mod Sun journey, I am a part of your day to get you to do better. The quote about if the student doesn't exceed the teacher, then the teacher was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all the people that listen to me have a huge, huge chance to do better than I've ever done. Because I truly believe that what I have put out there through my art is kind of a manuscript of how to make your dreams come true. That being said, my goal is to not allow my audience to be ahead of me in figuring out what I'm going to do. I think it's very important to evolve over time. And like the whole idea of like having eras or having like periods in your life and reinvention, like that's a big part of my art, is understanding that like, look, man, like I've been now 2 years and almost a month without drugs or alcohol in my body.
Congratulations, man.
And thank you, been very, very open about that story. That's been like a big shock to people who knew me as like a hippie hop rapper who was getting fucked up mainly. Can I swear on this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, you're totally good.
You know, who was getting like, you know, talking about like the wild aspects of life like that. I felt no qualms about being like, yo, I've changed, you know? And it's a part of what I think that I do best in this industry right now is like allow myself to tap into like my inspirations and understand that the evolution of an artist, you know, I think I just realized this very recently. I make a couple songs every single day. You know, I'm pretty much in the studio all the time. And it took me a really long time to understand, and this is for every artist out there, your biggest, we'll say fans, I like to say supporters, your biggest supporters do not care how catchy your song is.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't want to actually love it the first listen. They want something they can dig in and digest. So many artists enter the studio and go, let's make the catchiest song possible. And that is you making music for people who don't even listen to you.
Yeah.
That is for you trying to go like, let's go get this new audience, right? And you're ignoring the people that love you. I think that in this day and age right there, that sentence says it best. Too many artists are ignoring the people that love them. They're trying to make the catchiest tune. And your biggest fan does not care how catchy your song is.
Right.
They actually don't want your song to end at 2.5 minutes. They'd love for you to write 15-minute songs, you know? And it's like, I think there's a chance right now, like I was saying, we're in the wild, wild west of music right now. Things are changing every single day. Rules, there's this quote by one of my favorite fashion designers, which is a very simple quote, but it's like, you must know all the rules to understand how to break them. And again, I'm very deep into a half of my existence career. I've learned the rules. I've learned the structures. I've learned the limits. And now I know how to break them. And I think that like, if anyone can out here choose to do this genre bending type of thing, it is right now. And it's like, you know, there's an ingredient that's missing in music right now, which is like, there's been these walls that have been put up, and we all know that like genres are slowly dying every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, there is still like this path that you walk, you know? And I like to think that like I keep adding these ingredients. See, like I didn't think, now we're hearing the word pop punk every day right now. Every day. Dude. 2 years ago, the word pop punk in general audience would be like, what?
Right.
We're like hearing it. We're on iHeartRadio, Pop Culture Weekly, right? I'm sure you've mentioned pop punk, emo, the scene in the last month.
Of course.
Okay. I did not think all this knowledge, like I'm an encyclopedia of that from 2000, 2001 to like 2008. I knew every single thing about pop punk and the scene and emo music and post-hardcore music and screamo and all the off genres, every single thing. Dude, I did not think that it was ever going to come in handy. I was like, bro, I just filled up my head, which already I feel like doesn't have that much room in it. I'm like, I just filled it up with all this information that's never going to come back around. I played drums for the first half of my life. I stopped playing drums. This is the first Mod Sun album, this last album that I dropped, The Internet Killed the Rock Star. It's the first time I've ever played drums on a Mod Sun record. Dude, I was like so thinking that I gained all this knowledge that I would never use. And here it comes, all back around. And it's like, that's the beautiful thing is like, again, the journey, man. And it's like, I really, really enjoy the time we're in right now because like the whole, as you said it, like the genre bending thing is like, I think becoming a norm, you know? Do you feel that way as well?
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I feel like, you know, throughout music, at least like modern era music, you know, you had people that did it and did it well, you know, Michael Jackson in a lot of ways, Madonna, where each album was an era and kind of a new twist on their pop, you know, and even like, I mean, there's very few artists that have kind of done it historically, and then now it seems like it's becoming like the norm, which I think is sick. I love it.
It is, bro. It is. I love that you mentioned those two artists too as well. And you're right. Like it is kind of like it's almost like been a once every decade kind of artist that does that, and then now it's becoming such a normal thing that people are going through like periods, and maybe the whole what I was talking about, that every great artist reinvents himself every 10 years, is maybe turning into every 5 years,
right?
You know,
right?
And I think that's like again, I think that's like a duty to art, which is something that I'm so strict on myself. If I have any rules, it's like shoot for art, you know. Like first and foremost, like everything is, to me, what's always helped me, and like I made this decision a very, very long time ago and I've never looked back, is I make every single song, every single photograph, every single video, I do it as if I'm already dead and gone. I do it from the lens of being dead. And like that is to say that, like, again, I don't want to like sound self-righteous and all that, but like I don't want to be trendy. You know, that is like literally, if that's not the death to art, that's the cousin to the death of art. You know what I'm saying? Like being trendy, you know, I enjoy trying my damnedest to make things that are going to get better over time, you know? And like, I feel like I have just entered, like, I'm definitely in this moment of my personal career where I am getting introduced to a new audience, and that's incredible because I feel like I'm kind of starting to get flowers for some of the stuff that I've done, you know? But that being said, like, it hasn't changed a way that I make this music. Like, you know, all my favorite people and my heroes pretty much died before I was born, you know? And I like to like, you know, think that they're watching, looking down on this world, and that they, you know, if I can have them tune into what I'm doing and then be proud, then I'm like walking down the right path. You know?
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's a big, that's huge, you know. I mean, that's a great way to think of things as an artist. And, you know, thinking of, or speaking of Bob Dylan and his birthday and being one of the rock greats, Stevie Nicks' birthday is today, depending on when you guys are watching and listening. She's another one of those timeless artists that, you know, as you were talking, I actually thought about that as you were saying, you know, it's timeless. Like Rolling Stone is one of the greatest songs of all time, if not the greatest. Yeah. And, you know, there's no references to cell phones or Twitter. You know, you don't hear Stevie Nicks talking about, like, you could listen to a Stevie Nicks song today, and if we were back in the 70s having this conversation, that same exact song, you know, is relevant throughout each decade because it is completely timeless. And that,
isn't that cool, bro?
It's amazing. That is art, you know?
Yeah.
That is art, because that's not going to, you know, if one day I have kids or something, like pop culture references and something or anything like that. And I'm a pop culture junkie, you know, I have a show, you know, with iHeart called Pop Culture Weekly, but pop culture references in art, particularly music, for me, just automatically date it. Because who knows?
Yeah.
I may not remember what twerking is in 50 years, you know? My kids might have no idea what twerking is. And sure, it might be a dope song to like dance to at the clubs, but that's kind of where it ends for me. It's a dope song to dance to at the clubs, but then it's, you know, it's not like timeless art, you know?
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. You know, it took me, which again, you're very good at this, bro. Great points that you just brought up. You know, it took me a lot of thinking. Like I said, my recent album is called Internet Killed the Rock Star. It took me a lot of thought to enter into that world and say, okay, I'm pretty sure the internet's going to last forever. You know?
Absolutely.
Pretty sure that by me saying internet killed the rock star, it's like saying video killed the radio star, right?
Exactly.
You know?
Everybody knows what video and radio is.
That was an homage to that, you know, to the whole periods of time, you know, becoming kind of something that overshadows, you know, what's going on. So it's like the internet killed the rock star thing. The whole concept of that was like, what is happening right now that's going to affect the future? And I am pretty sure that internet's going to last forever. And like a lot of people ask me what that title means, and it has like 3 or 4 meanings to me, but like one that I'll just mention right now off the top is like, you know, the idea that back in the day when Bob Dylan would go and get booed off stage, that was his interaction with critique. And then maybe he'd pick up a magazine or a newspaper and see it. There's very few times that you were being force-fed hate.
Mm-hmm.
In this era of the internet, it's like you wake up and you open up your phone and it's like, Mod Son, I love you. Your music saved my life. I love your new album. Fuck you. You suck. Quit music. Never make it again. Great album. Did I remind you that you fucking suck?
Yeah.
Right? It's like you're really bombarded with, you know, the critiques. And within that, I have actually learned a lot. And so it's like, you know, I think like the idea of killing the rock star was like also about talking about the rebirth of it. Like I stand firmly on the fact that you can learn more from a critique than a compliment. Someone tells you that you're great. It's like, what does that do for you? Someone says like, yo, I didn't like what you did at 2 minutes, 32 seconds of this song. You go listen, and you're like, okay, so I didn't like that, you know? And you can actually process that. You could disagree full-heartedly, but like you could gain something from that. So like there's like you know, with every death there's a rebirth, and that's kind of like the topic of the whole album that I made.
And I love this album, and I absolutely, the videos are so dope that it like what? It's like a ride through them. Tell me a little bit about that, because they're, you know, well, you tell me. I absolutely love them.
Yeah. Well, like so basically, like in this visual landscape, I do take it very seriously. Like I love to make music, and I think that traits of a visionary means that like I would love to consider myself a visionary, but I will just at least bring it down to the level of saying I have traits of a visionary, where like if I'm listening to a song or creating a song, I can close my eyes and I'm not just gonna see like a black slate on the back of my eyelids. Like I see a movie. I see a movie happening. I see a story being told. And you know, for this album, like I wanted to kind of enter a period where we could maybe push artists to take their videos a little more seriously. And by doing that, I wanted to make a short film based upon the fact. So I've released 4 official music videos for this album: Karma, Bones, Flames, Amnesia. If you watch them now in an order consecutively, they all tie into each other and they all tell a long form story. And like I really don't know when the last time someone like really like took that step into that space to want to do something like that. A lot of people, it actually is a little difficult to be shooting one video and thinking about the next, because you kind of have to be able to tie them into each other. So yeah, I take it very seriously. If you watch the story, you know, it starts in the middle of a street, and it takes you on this ride of like seeing someone die and be reborn. This final video that I just released called Amnesia is kind of the antithesis of it all, where once that ends, it also begs to ask the question of where did the whole story start, you know, and you could kind of pick up anywhere in it. And you know, it has multiple levels, bro. I think one of the most beautiful parts about art is that the viewer gets to kind of make their own story. So I don't like to just put my finger completely on the pulse and be like, this is what happened. You know, a lot of what the overall story is it's shown very, very kind of bluntly in this last video that I released, Amnesia. It's breaking out of this box, man, you know, and the box of being society, the box of being my drug and alcohol abuse at points in my life, the box of wanting to make it on a timeline that didn't happen, having to look around at your peers and being like, we started together. How are you so much bigger than me? You know, really, like, you know, there was a lot of like really, really, you know, below the surface questions that I had to ask myself over the last 10 years. And I tried to like really sum that up in this and show like a death and a rebirth, you know. A lot of the videos are based around a gravestone, and being able to understand that like there's this whole ideology that like the life that we're in right now is a dream, and when you die, that's when you really start living. And when did you ever wake up? I have a book called Did I Ever Wake Up, which I reference all the time in my life, of being like, did I even wake up today? Because like today just seems so much better than yesterday.
Wow.
And you know, maybe I'm still dreaming. So yeah, I mean, I really, really put like everything. I mean, I'd love for anyone out there listening, if they haven't seen the videos, go watch the videos, go watch Karma, Bones, Flames, Amnesia in a row. But like, yeah, at the forefront, I just want like to everyone to know, like I put literally everything I have into these music videos, because like, you know, I direct them all. I co-direct or direct all these videos as well. I do that for other artists. And like, this was the time where I was really like, I think I've done some really great things directing wise for other artists. And this was the time where I'm like, I'm putting myself first, and I'm going to make some really, really magnificent things for myself. And yeah, man, there's a whole story being told. So I'm very proud of them.
I love it. And I will say, you may not say it yourself, but I will say you are absolutely a visionary in all of the art, you know, that you put out. So, so big up, bro. Of course, big ups to that. What can we expect? You know, obviously COVID had a hamper on the original release. Now with the deluxe edition, can we expect you to start hitting some shows?
Oh yeah. I just announced this first festival that's been announced. I have a couple other really great things, and it's called Bottle Rock. It's up. I'm playing with Stevie Nicks. You know, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah. It's up in like Napa Valley, California.
Yeah.
I have a couple other festivals that'll be announced very shortly, and then I'm gonna go out on the road. I'm gonna go on tour as soon as like I already have dates and everything, and we're just kind of waiting for the like 100% like, yeah, it's going down. So I'll be doing that, and I'll be going back out on the road. And like I made pretty much this whole album to be played live. You know, like I said, I played drums on the whole album. I think real drums coming back into music is like a piece of the energy that's been missing for so long. So like a live show, my whole album was kind of based off me performing it live. So I'm very excited about that. I've got a lot of directing stuff coming up, from me directing again, like I said, for other artists, to directing some like actual feature films and shit like that in that whole industry. And then I have something really cool, which I haven't even mentioned to anyone. So I'm just going to give you this piece of information. I have a full length documentary being made right now.
Oh, nice.
That spans like the last 10 years. I mean, I carried a camera around with me for the last like year and a half, like an old DV camera, skate cam, and captured like the entire making of this album. And then prior to that, I had someone follow me around kind of secretly with a camera for the last 5 years and capture my whole story. And like, you know, there's this thing in film, it's called The Hero's Journey. And they talk about the hero's journey being involved in pretty much every great film that's ever been made, which is essentially like caterpillar to butterfly. A caterpillar literally thinks it's about to die. It literally is like, this is my last breath. They take their last breath and they're reborn as a butterfly. That's like what the hero journey is. I've really kind of endured that by so much evolution, especially within the last 2 years. Like I said, like changing my lifestyle so drastically. It's all captured on camera, every single moment for like the last 5 years. And then all the way back to my band days when vlogs were starting, all of that's been documented. So I have this long form documentary coming out that's like, it's going to come out this summer. And that's kind of what I'm looking forward to most, because I feel like people are kind of just getting to know me, and I have this pretty cool story to be told.
That's so dope, man. I can't wait for everything. We're going to have all the links up, you know, on all of our stuff, so people can find out exact dates and all that stuff. And I thank you so much, brother, for talking with me.
No, that was great, bro. We got to do this again, man. That was a good time.
Absolutely, man. Such an awesome artist. I freaking love that man. So he's just got, you know, talent and creativity just pouring out of him. So, in any event, that is the show. Thank you so much for listening. Please, it really helps if you review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps for discovery. If you think there's somebody that loves pop culture like you do, loves movies and music and TV, streaming, technology as much as you do, please share the podcast with them. We continue to grow because of you. And, I want to do big things with you guys, like, maybe do some tour date appearances and we can chat about this crap in person. And that can only happen with your continued support, and I love you for it. So please continue doing it. In any event, I will see you next week, because guess what? We out.
You're listening to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon, presented by 92.9 Tom FM, an iHeart radio station.
I rocks and stuff with my Afro puffs.